Hello everyone, and welcome to today's reading. I am Starlight Vessel, and today we're going to be looking into not just exactly what your life purpose is, but also what you're meant for, which is a little bit of the same thing, but I think the connotation is a lot less intense because as we go about life and we overcome certain things, we may have accomplished part of our life purpose or a life purpose that we have accomplished that then leads us to another life purpose. So I don't believe that we all only have one life purpose. I do think we have multiple ones. And so what we're going to be looking at are your current energies and what your life purpose is right now, what you're meant for right now, based on your life as it stands. I hope that makes sense. I also want to make it really clear that you are not bound to anything in these readings. You always have free will. So even if the cards are suggestive of a life purpose that you just do not agree with, know that you always have the power to carve your own path. And if you do tune in and within the first 2 minutes or so, it's really not resonating, you can always click out and choose another pile. So in any case, we're gonna get into the 5 different piles that we have here. And I also want you to try and use your intuition as best as possible and not just go off of aesthetics and what looks most pleasing to you. I'll go over the bracelets in a second. I will say real quick that they're all from a website called Evolve Mala, and I'm not sponsored in any way. I just think that their bracelets are pretty cute. And I'll link their website in the description box if you wanted to check them out. They do send, with each bracelet, they send these really cute little cards, and it tells you the description of each of the crystals. Some of the bracelets have more than one crystal on them. So yeah, pile number 1 is going to be this Rhodonite bracelet with the little butterfly charm, and it has little roses in between the crystals. And it says right here, Rhodonite is a stone of love, believed to strengthen relationships with friends and loved ones. The stone was first discovered in Russia in the 1790s after locals noticed an eagle carrying small pieces of the stone back to their nests. The name Rhodonite comes from the Greek word rhodos, which means rose. Oh, and I guess that makes sense that they put little roses in there. They pay attention to detail. I like that. Very cute. All right, so the second bracelet is a Carnelian bracelet, and it has a little sun charm. And in this little card, it says, Carnelian is a stone of stability, believed to restore motivation and encourage positive decision-making. Egyptian artisans began crafting jewelry from this radiant stone over 4,500 years ago. Okay, and then the third bracelet is an Angelite and Moonstone bracelet. So the Moonstone are these 2 little white crystals right here. And then it has a dream catcher charm. And the card that it came with says, Angelite is a stone of peace, believed to infuse one's spirit with calm and promote a positive outlook. Moonstone is a stone of balance, believed to soothe stress and provide stability in those who keep it near. Okay, and the next bracelet is this blue lace agate and howlite bracelet with a little heart charm. And the card here says, blue lace agate is a stone of truth, believed to inspire confidence in communication and self-expression. Howlite is a stone of calming, believed to promote serenity of the mind and remove distracting thoughts. Okay, and last but not least, we have this gray agate bracelet with a tree charm. And the card for that says, gray agate is a stone of grounding, believed to promote a sense of inner peace. Agate has been an extremely popular gemstone throughout history. Ancient Roman authority Pliny the Elder wrote that the stone would help make its wearer agreeable and persuasive and give them God's favor. Okay, so right now, if you want to take a moment to pause the video, if you need a little bit more time in deciding which one you are most drawn to. In my last video, I kind of went over a few methods that you can do if you're struggling a little bit to choose a pile, but I won't get into it too much here again. I would definitely go with your first gut instinct like I said, without paying too much attention to necessarily which bracelet you think is the prettiest. Just which one kind of calls to you the most. If you want to take a few seconds to just close your eyes and kind of quiet your mind and see which bracelet appears in your mind's eyes first, that is a good way to go about it. So once you have chosen a pile, don't forget to go down to the description box and choose the timestamp for the bracelet that you were the most drawn to. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Hello, pile number 1. If you are here, you chose the Rhodonite bracelet with the little butterfly charm and the little roses here in between the crystal. All right, so we're going to start you off first with some tarot cards, but we also have a lot of oracle cards today. All right, so to start, we have the 8 of Swords reversed, and then we have the 7 of Cups reversed, and we also have the Devil reversed. So I think for many of you, part of your life's purpose is tied in with letting go, releasing yourself from some sort of addiction. And this doesn't have to be drugs or something drastic like that. And if you have, I am so sorry. I have not dealt with that myself, but people I love have. And I can't imagine how difficult that makes your existence, or it has made your existence. So I am truly very sorry about that. For some of you, this could be about letting go of a relationship or a toxic relationship that maybe in your current state, you feel a little bit powerless in terms of releasing that relationship or that person. But I think what you may not realize, because here with the 8 of Swords reversed, the woman has her eyes are bound, right? She can't really see, and so are her arms. But there's nobody around her holding her down that way. Like, it would be pretty easy for her to remove the bondages. And with the Devil, also, the chains are not like super tight and their hands are free. They could easily remove the chains if they kind of just made that decision. There's going to be several interpretations of this because this is a general reading. So I kind of want to point a few of them out at least. Another one that I'm getting, I think some of you may be commitment phobic to some extent. And if this isn't you now, maybe in your past or recent past, you've kind of always wanted to keep your options open. And when somebody great was presented to you, or you had the chance to be with somebody wonderful, you kind of couldn't help but destroy it because you were that afraid of a strong connection with somebody. And this could again deal with your past, whether that's because you felt unloved as a child, or maybe your parents got divorced when you were really young and it was really hard for you to get over that. And maybe you feel that if you were to get into a relationship yourself, there would be no good outcome because your parents didn't have a good outcome in their relationship. So I do think that part of your life's purpose is taking off the bondages, the chains from your childhood or your early life that make you feel that certain things are not possible for you. I think Spirit really wants you to know that if this is drugs, if this is some sort of childhood trauma, that there is absolutely a way out for you. The fact that the 8 of Swords, for example, and the Devil, so the meaning behind them of addiction and having the chains and the bondages, when they're upright, it means that you're still currently struggling. But the fact that they're reversed, and with the original question of what is your life's purpose, it is your life's purpose to remove those chains, to remove those bondages, to find your way forward, to not be tied down to anything, find your freedom. And all these options here, like one of these days, you're gonna like hone in and say, all of these other things are just here to distract me. But I'm going to choose this cup, for example, and that's where I'm going to head and know that that's what's meant for me. I'm going to bring in some of your oracle cards now because I still think there is a little bit of cloudiness behind the message. So let's zero in a little bit more about what this means. All right, so the next two cards are from the Life Purpose Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. There's a lot of controversy behind that because she doesn't make cards anymore. Anyway, that's aside the point. We're not going to get into that here, but I do really like these cards. The first one is animals, and it says, you understand animals and communicate with them intuitively. Trust your inner guidance as the animals are part of your life's work. Okay. And then we also have support. Your life purpose fully supports you. So it's possible that whatever you're going through, whatever you've gone through in the past, it's pretty dark, I would say, in comparison to the average person. And maybe it's hard for you to relate to other people because of that. Or at least the people that are close to you. So I think for some reason, animals could be really significant in the sense that to some degree, it's easier for you to relate to animals than with people, or maybe with animals, you feel more comfortable because you feel that other people may judge you. And animals just tend to provide this sense of unconditional love. So if you want to utilize pain or trauma that you have gone through in the past to help animals that have also had traumatic experience, you might want to look into that. But I also think that whatever you decide, Spirit wants you to know that you're fully supported. You may not have come down, if you believe in this, you may not have chosen to incarnate with an exact purpose. I think Spirit just, what they really want is for you to live a life where you don't have to suffer as much. And for some reason, I'm getting the feeling that you've had a past life or you've had several past lives where you went through so much hardship that you could not complete your life purpose. And so when you incarnated into this life now, just existing in the 3D realm felt so daunting and so difficult that maybe you resorted to some sort of addiction or escape, because this world can feel like too much sometimes. And that's not something that should be shamed, right? And you need the right support around you. In a way as well, I think part of your purpose here now is to heal, not just from your earlier life, but from past lives as well. And I think also the fact that animals a lot of people are spiritually in tune, but a lot of people also are not. So the fact that animals, I think on a whole, tend to be that way, that could also be why you are more drawn to animals. Because I feel like they get you on a spirit level, on a spiritual level. All right, we're going to look into your next set of oracle cards. These are from the Archetype Cards. The first one is Teacher, and it says light attribute, ability to communicate knowledge, experience, skill, or wisdom. The shadow attributes are manipulating or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. Okay. And don't take these as your life's purpose are the shadow attributes. No, that's not what that means, but I'll get into it right now. Okay, and then we also have Prostitute. Light attribute accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. And shadow attribute places material considerations and security above self-empowerment. Wow. Okay, so I think a message that I'm getting is because you've had, like we talked about, either childhood, young adult life, or past life that was a really hard existence. You are almost here like, what else can be done that hasn't been done to me before? So this prostitute really stands out to me because prostitutes make themselves extremely vulnerable, right? And many times, I know a lot of cultures kind of judge prostitutes almost like this sexual taboo, but in reality, when someone chooses to live that life, to become a prostitute, it's often about survival. And I think that's kind of how you have been living, thinking, what do I need to do in order to survive? It's kind of like living in that fight or flight mode. You're not really living in the moment or experiencing the things that you're meant to experience. You know, maybe you're doing what you need to do for your own sanity. And I do really think that many of you, if you haven't come out of this pretty dark place in your life, you are coming out of it, or you're very close to. Because we do have this teacher card, which talks about experience, skill, and wisdom. So I think also tied in with your life's purpose, once you heal yourself, I don't want to say completely, because I do think that sometimes we're scarred and that's inevitable, but scars can be extremely beautiful because with that, you know, they're like survivor marks. But anyway, because of that, you're going to be so good at helping other people come out of their own dark recesses. And I don't want you to feel responsible for other people. But I think you're going to know where to lead others for them to get the help that they need. And this shadow attribute, I don't think that is about you. I think you dealt with people who might have been manipulative or abusive towards you. So I think if you are an adult now, you can better understand the signs now. You can recognize red flags pretty quickly, whether that's in intimate romantic relationships or even, you know, familial or friendship relationships. For this pile in particular, I would highly recommend to maybe go back to a reading like this, you know, in terms of your life purpose in a year or two from now, because I really feel like this reading is really one of those that is mostly in the here and the now. I don't think this encompasses at all like your entire life's purpose. I think this is only talking about a period in your life that was extremely difficult. And then what type of person you become after that. Because I think the transformation is going to be or is super powerful if it's happening for you right now. The type of person that you're going to be or the type of person that you're becoming is such a unique energy because of the types of things that you've experienced. And you're just going to become this beacon of light, of hope for others. Because you definitely don't desire to be somebody who's pitied. I don't get that at all. You want others to maybe see what you went through and how you got through it, to know that even if somebody else had a similar life to you, a similar upbringing of hardships, etc., that they can go through those things and be okay. And yeah, like I had mentioned, I think for most of you, whatever this was, an addiction, a toxic relationship, or a really traumatic experience, if you haven't healed from it or started to heal from it, you definitely are coming out of it soon. Because like we talked about, all these cards are reversed. And yeah, I think because of that, you're just gonna provide so much wisdom and knowledge to other people from your own experiences, not from things that you read in a book. No, not from anything that anyone else told you. No, these are things that you had the gusto, the will, the intelligence, the emotional intelligence to crawl out of on your own. Yeah, this pile just makes me really emotional. I almost really want to give all of you a big hug, like this little girl's hugging her leopard, or I think that's a leopard. So yeah, if I don't know you in real life, I'm going to send you virtual hugs anyway, whether you want them or not. Okay, so next up we have some cards from the Threadbound Oracle. We first have the book, which says Identity, Consciousness, Manifest. And then we have the reader, Interpretation, Choice, Agency. Yeah, okay, so the fact that you got the book and the reader just kind of reiterates what I just said, that what you can teach other people are things that you've experienced yourself. You are the book. You are the person that people write about in books. But you can also, at the same time, if you haven't learned this yet, you will, because we have agency here and choice. You will be able to rewrite your own ending. The way your life started is not the way your life is going to end. You're going to live a life that other people will want to read about. And I think, with people that have experienced any sort of trauma, it now becomes part of your life to find your own identity, because it's so hard, especially if you were a child when you experienced trauma, to separate your identity from that trauma, if that makes sense. So as you get older and older, there will really be that separation of when you can kind of look back on your life as if you were reading your own book, a book about your own life. And it no longer affects you the way it once did. Like I said, yeah, there's still some sort of pain to a certain level. You still have scars, but it doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to torment you the rest of your life. And I think what Spirit really wants you to know is that in this life, you are meant to know unconditional love and joy. I love that we have kind of the sun rays beaming out of here. We have not daisies, we have sunflowers. And maybe you should write your own book. Maybe that's also tied in with your purpose. If you feel that call to share your story with other people. And if you don't want to write a book, that's also absolutely fine. But I do think that your story would help so many people. And if it's not a book, a podcast, something like that, where you can share your voice, your perspective, and your experience with other people who maybe that's exactly what they need to hear to move forward in life. Sometimes all somebody needs to hear is someone who's gone through something similar and they feel heard and they feel seen. Okay, now let's look at this card. 4 of Paper. My goodness, a signature. Tradition, organization, planning. Yeah, I think if it's not right this second, I think soon you are being called to start thinking about plans for your future. Having a home somewhere that you can call home, it doesn't mean that you have to buy a house or build a house, but it's definitely part of your purpose to have a home, whether that's because you have people that you can share a home with, have the right people around you. And kind of the way the universe works, things cannot come into our lives until we start thinking about them, until we start thinking that these things are possible for us. So it's kind of like start building, start drawing, start co-creating with the universe about the life that you want. I think your life's purpose, because we do have here, your life's purpose fully supports you. We have choice, we have agency, we have manifest. We just have several things here where you're kind of in control. And I know it probably doesn't feel like it, or it hasn't felt like it in the past. But once you realize that your reality can shift now. And obviously when you were younger, maybe you were powerless. Maybe there wasn't much that you could do to change your reality and change your life. That happens. So I don't want to make it seem like everything that happened to you was because you didn't believe. Like, no, that's just that's what they call toxic positivity, right? No, but if you find yourself in a good place, in a good state of mind, then where you don't have to focus on just surviving, once you've gotten the help that you need, or if you've already gone through that process, I commend you wholeheartedly. But yeah, once you're in a good place and your first instinct is not fight or flight anymore, then really start co-creating with the universe, because it seems like your life's your life's purpose isn't super tied down to any one thing in particular. Spirit mostly just wants you to have a life that you can enjoy. As simple as that sounds, I do definitely think that, yeah, Spirit is like, okay, you've had enough pain in this life or in past lives as well. Like, it's time for you to enjoy. It's time for you to start living the existence that you would want or deserve. Okay, so we're gonna look at the last two cards here from the Astrosoul Oracle deck. First, we have North Node, and we have New Moon. So this says new beginnings, planting seeds, setting intentions, blank page. Yeah, you can write your whole story. Your destiny is basically to find your destiny. You didn't come here with anything like written in stone. You came here with a blank page. You have some purposes, some things that you're meant to do, like heal yourself, heal through trauma, heal through past experiences, let go of certain people, toxic situations. However, you are here with a blank page. And I almost want to get my astro dice, because North Node in astrology talks about your destiny. And so whatever sign your North Node is in is kind of like what you're supposed to move towards. And whatever your South Node is in is what you're supposed to move away from. So I'm going to get my astro dice real quick. So you can see here, it has all the signs. So I'm going to clarify with Spirit what North Node may be in. Let's see, Spirits. What sign for group 1? What sign would the North Node be in? Okay, so North Node in Virgo. Which makes sense, because if you have had a very difficult life or a very difficult childhood, Virgo brings instability. So I think part of your destiny is moving towards that stability. We had tradition somewhere over here. So if you didn't get to experience that when you were younger in your family home, maybe when you have your own family, you want to have your own traditions. Maybe if you didn't have a stable environment growing up, then you want to have that as an adult. You want to move towards that. You want to be able to provide that for your own children, or if you don't have children, for your pets, for friends that you consider family, for your spouse, for nieces or nephews. But yeah, sometimes Virgo is also considered one of the more simple signs. So we move away from so much chaos and uncertainty that we start to plan and organize. Yeah, that's funny. Organization, planning, and then we get Virgo. Because if you have a blank page, right, you can't just write a book from beginning to end. I mean, you could, but writing a book takes organization. You make outlines. And I'm not saying you have to make an outline for your life. But even if you just take it step by step, maybe even journaling, consider that. But in a nutshell, coming here with a blank slate is pretty freaking cool. The fact that your destiny is to find a destiny, that you can create it, you can co-create with the universe, you can write your own book, you can draw the blueprint for your own house. You know, there's nobody that you're necessarily meant to be with. No one necessarily that's meant to be in your family. Like, you, as you come across things, as you come across people, you get to decide completely whether those things stay in your life or not. It's almost like you guys are architects. And so maybe you were placed in positions where you had to experience so many things so that you could understand how to create a better life for yourself and a better life for other people, or to help them create a better life for themselves. This was pretty powerful. If no one's told you lately, wherever you are right now, I just want to tell you that I'm very proud of you. Spirit is very proud of you. You've come a long way. And even if you're still struggling, that is absolutely okay. We all need support. And if you're in a place where you don't know where to go, then I wasn't expecting my reading to go here, but I'll leave some links down below for resources if you're at that part of your life where you don't have anybody, in which case I'm extremely sorry, but I'll do what I can, and I'll add some resources in my description box. But I think most of you are in a place where you are now coming out of a really difficult time. Anyway, pile one, I think I will leave you there. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I really hope that this reading was helpful to you in some way. And if you would like to order a personal reading from me, you can always do that on my website at starlightvessel.com, or you can join my spiritual family on Instagram at starlightvessel. All right, again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. If you are here, you chose the Carnelian bracelet with the little sun charm. So as usual, I'm gonna start off with some tarot cards, and then I also have plenty of oracle cards for you today. All right, so we will start with the tarot cards. So first we have the Fool, and then we have the Ten of Wands, and then we also have the Ten of Cups reversed. All right, so I do think part of your life's purpose was to kind of venture out into the world. You know, this is a little universal, but most people go out into the world kind of naive, thinking that nothing bad will ever happen to them. And maybe there's a few things that you kind of ventured into and tried out, and then it turned out to be really, really difficult for you. Maybe even taking on too much at once and then overburdening yourself. You know, kind of that saying, maybe you bit off more than you could chew. But I do think that in that, you learned how to work really hard and how to take care of yourself. And perhaps for you and maybe the lifestyle that you want, this may not be true for all of you, but with the Ten of Cups reversed here, I think many of you want a family life that isn't necessarily conventional. This doesn't necessarily mean that you don't want to have children, but maybe you wish to adopt, maybe you wish to get married but not have children, or you just want to have pets, or your ideal family life is living with people that you consider family, like really close friends, people that you chose, your selected family in a sense, and not actually people that you're related to by blood. So I do think that in some way, the conventional, traditional family life may not be meant for you. Now, again, we always have free will. So if that is what you want, 100% go after that. That is just one of the interpretations that I'm seeing, but it is a general reading. So as always, it's going to be different for everybody. This could also mean that growing up, you didn't have the most stable family environment. And because of that, you had to work really hard when you were younger. And maybe you were stressed a lot. Maybe your family caused you a lot of stress. And maybe at times you felt like running away. And maybe even almost in a mirror, or kind of going full circle because of that. Maybe you did go venture out on your own, and then real life was kind of too much of a burden, and, you know, so on and so on. Let's look at some of your oracle cards to get some more insight. I have here next the Life Purpose Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. So first we have Creative Expression. Your soul longs to express itself creatively. And then we also have Teaching. You inspire young people to learn. Okay, so this is a little bit more direct in terms of what you may be meant for. If you don't necessarily want to work with kids, however you express yourself creatively may just be something that benefits children. So if you paint like the angel in this photo, or painting, like maybe your drawings or your artwork will help children, or teach them in some way. There's so many ways to be creative, right? If you make films, if you sing, etc., something that you do may just inspire children or people who are younger than yourself. All right, let's look at your next cards. And these are the Archetype cards. And first off, we have student. Interesting. So we have teaching and student. Light attributes: humility and devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning. Shadow attributes: arrogance and the pursuit of destructive knowledge, unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. And then we have bully. This, by the way, this doesn't mean that you're a bully. Anyway, light attributes: highlights your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. And then shadow attribute: conceals deep fears behind verbal or physical abuse. Wow. So what I'm seeing sort of is something that you experienced, or maybe several experiences that you had as a child. Maybe the reason why you feel the need to express yourself creatively. If this is representative of early childhood or hardships that you had as a child or early or a young adult, which may have blocked you from feeling comfortable in expressing yourself or making yourself seem vulnerable to others. Or maybe it is that you were bullied at school. And part of a trauma response is sort of a fear of expressing yourself because you think that you're going to push people away, or that people are not going to love you anymore or see you in a very negative light. So you might have gone to a creative outlet, whether that's writing or drawing or something, where you felt that your expression was safe, kind of in the guise of art, where no one could accuse you, like, you wrote this poem that said blah blah blah, how dare you say this about me? Like, no, it's a poem and it's art, and you could never prove that it's about anyone in particular, right? You can kind of have a feeling or a shared experience or something like that, but for the most part, when you express yourself creatively, your thoughts and your vulnerability, in a sense, is safe there. No one can accuse you of anything there. Like, oh, this is just my art. What are you talking about? And I'm not saying that's a negative thing, by the way. I do think that creative expression is, for many children and for many people, a necessary outlet. Otherwise, we go a little bit crazy, right? And maybe it's that whatever it is that you experienced as a child, that you're going to want to help inspire younger people to express themselves, to stand up for themselves, to not be afraid of losing people. Because when we stand up for ourselves and we lose people, that means that those people were not really worthy of being in our lives anyways. You could want to work directly with children, but I think for most of you, it's more of an indirect way of working with them or inspiring them or teaching them something. And I just saw something right now, which is going to be probably super specific for a few of you. But the fact that we have bully, student, and teaching, all three things that we see in a school environment, and then even creative expression. Some of you might be meant to be an art teacher. Again, that is a super specific message, and this is a general reading, so I'm just throwing out different interpretations. But if you are an art teacher or are on your way to becoming one, please let me know. Another thing I'm seeing, which is really wonderful with modern media, is because of the internet and all of the content that people create out there against bullying and things that used to be sort of, not that they were okay, but they were glossed over when at least when I was in high school. Like bullying was kind of seen as normal in a way. But now because of the internet and videos, etc., that people create, which really highlights all of the reasons why bullying is wrong and why it's so detrimental to children and even teenagers, I feel like now it's that much harder to get away with things like that, for kids to get away with being a bully, because they're much more likely to be shunned by their peers and not just reprimanded by teachers, but now it's like other students shunning them and kind of forming a brotherhood or a sisterhood against people with malintentions. And when a child is a bully, there's so many reasons for that. A lot of the times they themselves are have a very difficult living environment. But anyway, that's a whole other topic, and I don't think you are a bully. I think it is that whatever you create or help teach younger people is going to help them not fear confrontation so much. Whatever it is that you're putting out there, like I said, whether that's writings of yours, videos, something that you teach, something that you counsel, is going to help children become very strong adults that are not pushovers, that you cannot just walk all over them. Yeah, I think many children that you come across because of your teachings are going to be very good at standing their ground and standing in their morals and not backing down, of course, unless their life is in danger or something like that, which hopefully that will never happen. All right, so let's look at your next set of oracle cards. These are from the Threadbound Oracle. Here we have the moon, and it says cycles, cleansing, and destiny. And then we also have the dreamer, which says imagination, desire, exploration. So when talking about your higher purpose, it's funny, this literally says destiny. I wasn't sure before, but I think now with this dreamer card, I definitely think that whatever you create artistically is going to appeal to children. And when you see the words like imagination and exploration, it's something that you hear a lot in children's kids shows and stuff. And I think also part of your life's purpose is breaking certain cycles. Just because you went through whatever difficulties these were for you as a child, that doesn't mean that your children will have to experience those things. So in a way, healing family traumas so that the generation after you or the generations after you don't have to experience those same things. And if you don't want children, totally fine. But at least the children that you not necessarily come into contact with, but that you inspire in some way, that they also won't have to deal with some of the difficulties that you experienced. All right, and then we also have 3 of ink, well. So I think it just means it's a well of ink, I guess. And then it says abundance, joy, resourcefulness. Yeah, again, I keep thinking of children. And the 10 of Cups is often a lot about joy when it's not reversed. The rainbow, that happy family. I think eventually you are meant to have the 10 of Cups not reversed, if that makes sense. You are meant to have that happy family. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a conventional family. It could just be with friends you consider family, a spouse without children, or having pets, etc. But whatever that is, whatever that ideal family life is for you, you are meant to have it. All right, last but not least, let's look at these Astrosoul Oracle cards. First off, we have Pluto, which says transformation, rebirth, renewal, and obsession. And then we also have Jupiter, expansion, gratitude, morality, and enlightenment. I think what's going to make you really lucky in life is the fact that even though you've gone through some hardships, you are still extremely grateful for everything that you have now, everything that you've learned. And I think a huge part of that is your art or whatever creative endeavors it is that you do has helped you expand, has taught you a lot about how to really express yourself and make yourself vulnerable and not be afraid of what other people think, to not be afraid of standing up for yourself. With this Pluto card, I do definitely think you've done a 180 on your life. And if you haven't yet, I think you are definitely in the process. And I think that's part of your life's purpose, is to do a complete 180 from your childhood. And that's probably also the reason why many children, maybe not right away, but as they get a little bit older, will really be inspired by you. Especially those who have had a similar childhood or a not so easy one, even if it's not similar to yours. Just the fact that it wasn't easy. Also the fact that we have Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius. I think part of your life's purpose in a way is lifelong learning. I think you're never going to stop learning. And I don't mean learning from experiences. I mean like you actually, like this dreamer holding the book and the moon over here, there's papers flying everywhere. I think you're always going to be seeking knowledge to further expand your knowledge, where like eventually young people or people that are younger than you are always going to sort of seek you out because you're going to offer so much wisdom, so many philosophies that you even come up with on your own as you get older and older. Everything that life throws at you, like you don't even see things that negatively. I think you have a very optimistic outlook. And like I said, you're very grateful. But yeah, you have a tendency to, like, even if life throws something negative at you, you have a way of turning it on its side and bringing out the positive in the situation. And that's definitely a gift that not everybody has. And I think when other people are sort of going through difficult times, just being around you kind of uplifts them without you having to do much. I guess it's no surprise that you did choose the Carnelian with the sun, which is often about optimism, even in astrology and the tarot, right? You might actually even be a little bit of a goofball, a pretty funny person. A funny person, you know, that makes light of sometimes darker situations, but sometimes that's what we need. And I think that's why people are drawn to you, especially when they're going through some tough times. Something about you just makes everything seem not so bad anymore. It is possible that some of you could even be comedians. I think you're very gifted at making other people laugh. But yeah, especially in old age, I think you're going to be like that wise old person that everybody goes to for advice. I just got a very cute image of that. But anyway, pile number 2, I think I will leave you there. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope that it resonated. And if you would like a personal reading from me, you can always order one from my website at starlightvessel.com, or you could join my spiritual family on Instagram at starlightvessel. And if you enjoyed this reading, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you would like to see future videos from me, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye! Hello, pile number 3. If you are here, you chose this bracelet with the Angelite and the Moonstone crystals, as well as the Dream Catcher charm right here. For today, in terms of what your life purpose is, we do have some tarot cards, as well as plenty of oracle cards to get some extra insight. So as usual, we're going to start off with your tarot cards. And the first one here is the Knight of Swords reversed. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. And we also have the Knight of Pentacles. So this is quite interesting. I think with two Pentacles here to start, and because of the positioning of the Knight of Swords next to the Five of Pentacles, I do think this had to deal with likely your earlier life or your childhood. So it's quite possible that many of you struggled financially, or rather your family struggled financially growing up. And maybe because of that, you felt like you were kind of stuck and you couldn't really go forward in life. This could talk about things like maybe your family couldn't afford to send you off to college, or you couldn't afford to invest in some of your dreams, some of the bigger ideas and aspirations that you had. Because typically the Knight of Swords, when it's upright, it's, I would say, the fastest moving card in the tarot. And when I see it reversed, I do see it as sort of a block. And then the fact that it ends here with the Knight of Pentacles, which is the slowest of the knights, I think life kind of forced you to sort of have a slower beginning in your life. And it kind of taught you that in order to move forward in life, because of circumstance, maybe you were not naturally like this, but you kind of had to stop and think and plan and be methodical with your ideas and your aspirations. And I think despite a more challenging upbringing, you are moving away from these blockages, from, I don't know if this was poverty, this might be a little bit too extreme. For a few of you, maybe that is the case, that you were born into poverty. But if it's not that, I do think for most of you, you likely struggled financially at some point. And if it wasn't in your younger days or from your childhood, then maybe right now you are struggling with a lack mentality. And part of your life purpose is to move away from that and really learn to look. Because these two characters here, they're walking in the snow. They're very cold, but they haven't really stopped to look that right next to them is a window full of light. And inside of that building, there's warmth. So they are actually not that far from comfort. But for some reason, they just feel defeated. But whatever it may be for you, whether it's discomfort, a financial setback, coming from a family that doesn't have a lot, it's definitely not a place of permanence. One thing Spirit wants you to know is that this state of existence is completely impermanent. And like I said, some of you are currently already working towards moving away from it, or you recently walked away from it, or not walked away, but are moving forward. Or it is simply what you are meant to do in this life. And you will not have to feel like that forever. Okay, so next we're going to look at your life purpose oracle cards. These might give us a little bit more insight about what it really is that you're meant to do here. All right, so first off, we have children. Your life purpose involves helping, teaching, and healing children. Okay, interesting. There was a lot about children in pile number 2, if you were at all drawn to that pile. Okay, and we also have freedom. You're free to do what you choose. So I think a big message here from Spirit is that even if in your childhood you didn't have all the resources that you needed to succeed or to go after the things that you really wanted, that even if you didn't have that freedom then, you are going to have that freedom, or you already have it now. Some of those things could just be changing your mindset to gratitude so that you attract more to you, more abundance to you. But just because you may not have come from much, and again, that's not going to be true for every single one of you, but I think many of you didn't come from much. But yeah, your upbringing does not define who you are or who you will be. Right here with this oracle card and this man, this adult man, I don't know if he's supposed to be an angel, but he has a lot of kids around him. And I feel like he's guiding the children towards a place of happiness, towards a place of acceptance. This is a very specific message, but I think it'll be true for a few of you. Some of you may be meant to either like help establish orphanages or work with children who perhaps do not have a family, or children who come from less privileged families or less privileged lifestyles, for lack of a better term. So if you haven't yet, but if later in life you find your way to success, to abundance, to a place where you're more financially stable, I think you're always going to carry that with you, that you didn't have a lot growing up. And I think you're going to feel that pull to help children who had a similar upbringing to you. Again, that's a very specific message. It doesn't have to be that, of course. You could simply help some of the children in your life, children who are closer to you, in your family even, or maybe it's even that with your own children, you're going to make sure that that cycle of poverty doesn't repeat itself, that your own children are raised with the resources that they need to pursue their own dreams from the get-go, or at the very least since early childhood. Because I think whatever it is that you lacked in childhood, maybe for some of you it isn't necessarily money, but whatever it is that you lacked kind of held you back, and you feel that because of that, you were kind of a late bloomer. Maybe some of you ended up going to college a lot later in life, or at least a lot later than maybe the people around you, some of your friends from high school. Maybe you feel like you were kind of held back by a few years. Because again, the Knight of Pentacles moves a little bit slower than the other knights. And here's the thing, that's not a negative thing. I think when you were able to finally start pursuing your dreams, it was because you felt ready. And the universe works in divine timing. So maybe for whatever reason, you were meant to start things later. Like I said, whether that was going off to the university later than some of your friends, getting married later than some of your friends, or having children later than some of your friends. And you definitely don't need to carry the weight of feeling ashamed or embarrassed or anything like that some of those things happen later for you in life. Because the universe doesn't bring things to us until we are absolutely ready for them. I know that everybody watching this pile is going to be of varying ages. And if you're on the younger side and you're still here, feeling stuck, feeling in a place that you're not financially stable, just know that sometimes being in those places where you feel stuck, and I know it does not feel good in the moment, because I myself had a childhood that was really lacking of privilege, so I get it. But just know that there's kind of a reason for everything, even if we don't see it. I think one other thing to know is that you may be meant for really big things that might be too much on a younger person. So your life is kind of set up to learn a lot of lessons and sometimes hard lessons when you're younger, so that when the universe presents opportunities later in your life, you are extremely ready to tackle them. The Knight of Pentacles is really unconcerned about how long things take. So if things are presented in front of you that may be obstacles, once you're in the Knight of Pentacles mentality, state of mind, you can pretty much execute any plan out of these obstacles or bumps in the road. You build your stamina. When mountains rise in front of you, you can easily climb them. It might take you a while, but you're going to find yourself climbing them and not even getting tired. So who you are now, or who you are becoming, know that that person is a very resilient person. That horse has its feet planted on the ground. Nothing is going to knock it over. The Knight of Pentacles also has his eyes set on the future. Body, eyes, everything is facing forward. He has his eyes completely set on where he needs to go, and nothing is going to make him lose sight of that. That's what we call unwavering perseverance. That's pretty badass. You are the dark horse that suddenly catches up to everybody. Even if all your close friends, if there is some sort of metaphorical finish line, they got there, maybe they're close to the finish line, and let's say you are half a mile behind them, And with one minute before they actually reach the finish line, you suddenly catch up to them, because they were kind of going so fast that when they were so close to finishing, they got so tired that it slowed them down, versus you taking your time to get there and you end up in the same spot anyways. So definitely never think that you are behind in life. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and look at your archetype cards. The first one here is Knight. Of course, light attributes, loyalty, romance, and chivalry, a love of honor. And then shadow attributes, allegiance to a destructive ruler or principle, romantic delusions. Okay, and then we also have artist, light attributes, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. And then the shadow attributes, using talent as an excuse to mistreat others, posing as the starving artist to elicit pity. Okay, so one thing that's standing out to me, it's possible that maybe not all of you, but many of you are artistic in some degree. And we all know that making money off of art is one of the more challenging things career-wise to go after. So if you have some sort of lack mentality, it could be tied in with that. And you may be known or have been known to be the kind of the starving artist. And it's also possible that you don't desire a career that's normal. You know, you likely don't want to be stuck in an office. You want to feel free. And I think what Spirit also wants you to know, that it is possible to make a living, to be successful as an artist, especially since you have developed or are developing into that Knight of Pentacles, who is unafraid of hard work. Because just because a career is fun or making art, that doesn't mean that you don't have to work hard, right? But with the Knight of Pentacles, you're not afraid to put in that work. Or at least you're going to reach a stage in your life that you feel ready to put in that work. The Knight right here in this Oracle deck reminds me a little bit of the Knight of Pentacles. So it's interesting that we do have the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Cups. I'm going to call him that. So I do think you have a good balance of being responsible, being methodical, being more logical, but at the same time, you're also not really afraid of love and romance. And then with the Knight of Swords, even though it is upside down, I think eventually in your later years, it will flip. And you're going to be really good at communicating with people, being diplomatic, being logical. So yeah, there's a good balance here. Yeah, you're not so methodical that you're boring. You're not so dreamy that you're delusional. You're not so logical that you're cold. I think anything that life has put you through has made you a very well-rounded human being. And this is probably why you make a good artist, because you can kind of mimic life through your art, right? What is that saying? Life imitates art, art imitates life. The one Knight we are missing is the Knight of Wands here, which is represented by the fire element. So if there's anything that you feel that you're lacking or missing, I think it is a little bit of that optimism and passion, because obviously you felt like for so long that you didn't have the resources that you needed. But that will come in time. You will get there. Okay, so now let's look at some cards from the Threadbound Oracle. First, we have the Mountain, challenges, adversity, endurance. Yes, that goes so well here with the Knight of Pentacles. And then we have the Mirror, truth, inquiry, reflection. Okay, and that goes pretty well with the Knight of Swords. Swords can often talk about getting to the bottom of the truth, being curious, asking questions. And I think with reflection, when you look at children, you're going to see a lot of yourself in them. And that might be what makes you want to help them, because you can see yourself in them. When you are around children, whoever those children are for you, I think it's going to cause you to reflect on your own life and how far you have come. And then with the mountain, it's so funny. I was, just talking about a mountain with the Knight of Pentacles having the endurance. Literally, I did say those words, having the endurance to climb any mountains that are presented before your feet. And you've already overcome so much that you're going to get to a point where adversity doesn't faze you that much. Like we were saying, yeah, you're going to become a very resilient person. Okay, so we also have this card here, Four of Ink, manifestation, communication, clarity. Again, this kind of ties in with the swords here. So I do think you're reaching a point where it's time to really question, again, inquiry, really question where it is that you want to head to next. If you haven't planned a lot, don't forget to be like the Knight of Pentacles and really plan things. Make it clear to the universe what it is that you want to manifest. And if you want to write it down on paper, journal it, that always helps send a very clear message and is a pretty powerful manifestation tool. And be as specific as you can. The more specific you are, the easier it is to truly visualize what it is that you're trying to manifest, and the easier it is to bring it into existence. So the clearer the picture is in your head of what you want in life. And if that's too much for now, just think about the next step. For example, if you want to manifest a home, your dream home, but you still don't have your dream job, then maybe start with your dream job first, because having your dream job is then going to help you get your dream home. So do try to be a little bit realistic, one step at a time. So if you're at that stage where you do not have your dream job or your dream career, then really think about not just what you want to do, how do you want to work? How many hours a week do you want to work? How much income do you want to make? What type of environment are you really going to thrive in? What type of people do you want to work with? Or do you prefer to work alone? Do you prefer to work from home? All of these things, really sit down and think about what job or work environment is really going to make you happy. Because sometimes we can try to manifest a career. For example, let's say your dream is to be a lawyer, and all you put out there into the universe is that you want to be a lawyer. And so let's say then that you do get a job as a lawyer, but you hate your boss. You hate it if you're forced, or not forced, but if you're expected to work 10 hours a day and it's just way too stressful, too much. And then you end up hating your job, even though being a lawyer is what you really wanted to do. So maybe instead it's that you want your own firm and you want to work for yourself. Whatever it is, just like I said, try to be as clear as possible, as specific as possible. And that kind of covers all the three bases here: manifestation, communication, and clarity. Okay, so lastly, we're going to look at your Astrosoul Oracle cards. First, we have Leo. Love to see it. And then we have conjunction, unity, autonomy, individuation, inner self, self-motivation, concentration, personal interests. So yeah, absolutely. I think the universe or your spirit guides are asking you, and maybe you haven't really heard them. You haven't heard their call. They want to know what your interests are. And I'm sure they have a general idea, but I think you have kept it to yourself a bit. And maybe some of that is because you were unclear yourself. Maybe you're just starting to find your own voice, your own individuality. Perhaps there was once a lack of discipline when you were younger. And well, actually, we did talk about this earlier. You are now starting to know the value of hard work, of discipline. Because when you decide what that dream career is for you, you are going to need a lot of discipline. Obviously, that is easier when you love what you're doing. So I don't want it to stress you out, because even if you end up working a lot for your dream, it's not going to feel like you're working a lot. You're going to thoroughly enjoy what you're doing. And if you're somebody who needs a lot of downtime to kind of ground yourself and take care of yourself, then you can also build your success around that. If you say, you know what, I only want to work 20 to 30 hours a week, that's enough for me. And if you make enough money working those hours, then why should you have to work 40 hours a week? That's just something that society has conditioned us to believing, but that is not true. So whatever it is that you require, make it known to the universe. We do have Leo here. Leo loves to play, have time to play. Leo, the sign of Leo is often associated with children. They tend to love kids or can be very childlike themselves, very creative and very expressive. Again, we have the artist here, so that's no surprise. So I do think for many of you, whatever it is that you do, Leo is also ruled by the sun. So I think once you discover what it is that you really want to do and you start heading that way, taking the next steps towards that, the world around you, your own world, is just going to light up everything. I think also another possibility is that you will create a safe space for children, a safe space for children to express themselves, to possibly even pursue creative endeavors. Because I think many of you did not have those opportunities when you were younger, right? When you think also of the self-confidence of Leos, I have personally known Leos. My dad is a Leo actually, and he came from poverty. He was one of 12 children, and he was born in Mexico. They were extremely poor. He was only able to go to first grade, and after that, they couldn't afford for him to go to school anymore. Eventually he came to the United States, and he, in his early 20s, started a pretty successful transmission shop. So if there's anybody that can do a complete 180 on their lives, trust a Leo, because it takes a lot of self-belief. So even if you're not a Leo, do what you can to harness that self-belief. There's no reason why you shouldn't believe in yourself. There's no reason why you cannot come to be successful. The only thing that's going to hold you back is you thinking that you cannot accomplish these things. But I think you are on the right path 100%. And as we talked about earlier, you are exactly where you need to be. So if anything, just move forward with now a clearer picture of where it is you want to go next, what it is that you want to manifest next. Again, and I guess this is mostly my personal opinion, but when you manifest one step at a time, I think that's when it works the best. But don't get me wrong, you can throw as many things out there as you want, make a list of the things that you want to become a reality in your life. There's no harm in that, but make sure that in that list, there are those steps to get from one thing to the other, if that makes sense. All right, pile 3, I think I will leave you there. I hope that this reading resonated. If you would like to order a personal reading from me, you can always do that on my website at starlightvessel.com, or you could always join my spiritual family on Instagram at starlightvessel. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe also if you would like to see any future videos from me. I hope that you have a wonderful day or night. And with that, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, pile 4. If you are here, you chose the blue lace agate and howlite bracelet with the heart charm. For today, looking into your life purpose, we are going to be using some tarot cards and a decent amount of oracle cards as well for some extra insight. So as usual, we're going to start off with your tarot cards first. All right, so we have the Empress, and we have the 9 of Cups, and we also have the 3 of Pentacles. So I think for many of you, you are definitely meant to live your biggest desires. I think many of you desire to collaborate with others, possibly people that are close to you, because we do have the Empress, who is a natural nurturer. And with this Venus symbol here, she is someone who loves beauty, who loves to create beauty. You may find joy in making your surroundings beautiful, or perhaps even other buildings beautiful. More specifically, some of you could be into interior design or something like that. But just know that you are meant to be extremely happy content, satisfied to the fullest in whatever it is that you choose to do. All right, let's bring in your life purpose oracle cards to get any more information. We have leadership, take charge of the situation. And then we have let go, walk away from the situation in order to resolve it. Okay, so that's interesting. I think some of you have some sort of deep connection to either a person or a group of people that may have let you down. But a beautiful thing about this with the Empress, I think even if you have been hurt or disappointed by people, you are not jaded or bitter. You still desire to love other people unconditionally. And for many of you, I do think this is a romantic partner, potentially a spouse that you really want to bring in. Or manifest if you aren't already happily married. If you are not, I think Spirit is saying that whether it's an ex or something like that, you're going to have to completely let them go in order to bring in the right person. This leadership here, take charge of this situation. I think there's no way for you to move on until you actively decide to. Like whatever it is that happened between this person or some circumstance, I think time isn't just going to heal your wounds no matter how much time passes. Well, maybe that's too extreme, but just because a few months have passed by, just because a year passes by, doesn't mean that you will get over it without taking actions towards that. Some of those actions can include accepting what it is that you want, and maybe this person couldn't offer you that. So acceptance could be your first course of action. Sometimes, even though we feel we are meant for someone, at the end of the day, if you do not want the same things, let's say you wanted marriage and this person didn't, even if they loved you, maybe in their own way, they still could not offer you what you want. Love actually is not everything. So you need to take charge and know what you want. Put your foot down and say, okay, well, this hurts me, but I need to let this person go because they cannot offer me what I want. And also know that you will find somebody who will give you what you want, who will satisfy you emotionally. I know I keep saying person. This does not have to be a person. This doesn't even need to be romantic. It's just an example that I'm giving. But I mean, this could honestly even be a business partner. Maybe you tried really hard to start a business with somebody, and maybe they were not putting in the work. Maybe you were the one breaking your back. And so the next step forward is letting go of that business partner and accepting, it's possible that this person's very talented, very creative, whatever that may be. But what your business needs in order to be successful is someone who is disciplined as well as talented. So there's something here that is not serving you currently, and you simply need to take charge and very possibly cut the cord. This overall, what you're meant for, is extremely positive. So this situation or this person or this group of people, coworkers, whoever or whatever it is, it's just holding you back from what you're really, you are meant to thrive extremely. And actually, I think part of that is finding the right people, because the Empress is a number 3, and then we have the 3 of Pentacles. And 3s are often about collaboration, a group of people, people who get along really well, people who work together really well. And in this card, the 3 of Pentacles, right? This guy is like the builder. I don't know if that's a hammer, a chisel, or something. So he's providing more of that physical labor. And then these 2 guys, they're older, and it looks like they have the blueprint or something like that. Maybe they're the actual architects. And even though they're different ages, even though they're providing a different set of skills, they're coming with a different background of experience, they are still respecting each other. They are still working well together. They are still respecting one another so that the building or whatever it is that they're building results in the best outcome. And the Three of Pentacles is the ultimate collaboration card. And that's what it means to collaborate. Know that everyone that comes and sits at the table for whatever project it is that you want to do, they have something to contribute. And each individual needs to be heard on an equal basis. And I think Spirit wants you to know that if you don't have those people around you yet, you will. I think it is possible for many of you. This isn't actually something romantic. But if it is, just apply it accordingly. But as I had mentioned, I do think something in your recent past, something didn't quite work out. And maybe you just have a really big heart and you haven't felt comfortable in cutting cords with that person yet, or a group of people, or even disassociating yourself from a certain project altogether because the work environment just was not equal. Okay, let's get into your archetype cards next. We have Alchemist, Light Attribute, Transformation of Base Motives and Goals into Golden Wisdom. Shadow Attribute, Misuse of the Power and Knowledge that comes through spiritual practice. Okay. And then we have Hedonist, Light Attributes, Inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrates the beauty in yourself. This is almost exactly like the Nine of Cups, and a little similar to the Empress as well. And then it says Shadow Attributes, pursues pleasure to the detriment of health, indulges at the expense of others. So yeah, I think you have definitely worked with somebody who kind of maybe took advantage of you. Regardless, I think you definitely know how to have a good time with the Hedonist here and the Nine of Cups. I think you like to possibly host, throw parties, and especially in combination with the Empress. I think if you host anything, you like to make sure that everybody is well taken care of. You're the type of host that makes sure everybody has their cup full, that they're well fed, that everybody is having a good time. And if you see somebody kind of alone in a corner, you're going to go out of your way to talk to them, to make them feel comfortable. Yeah, I think you're the type of person that everybody wants to be friends with, or at the very least, everybody should want to be friends with you. You are a good time and you're very caring about those around you. I think with the Alchemist here, you are someone who is meant to create. And I think for this pile in particular, it's creating environments. So you could also be interested in set design for film or theater or something like that. Or interior design, like we were talking about earlier, making other people's homes feel warm and welcoming with a sprinkle and dash of individual people's personalities. Really bring their home life to fruition. A lot of people don't know what they need in their own homes to feel at home, essentially. And I think you have that. At the very least, you are someone whose home will feel like home for many other people. I think your doors are always open to those who need help, who need a place to stay for a night, who need to feel nurtured for a day even. Even if you're not a woman or female, I still think you have this very motherly and nurturing quality about you. But because of that, I do think with the shadow attribute here and this misuse of power, I do think it has been sort of easy for other people to take advantage of you. And Spirit is saying, stop. You can be warm, you can be nurturing, but know when to draw the line. Take charge when you need to, let go of people when you need to. Don't let other people take advantage of your hospitality. And definitely walk away when a relationship, whether that's with friends or family or romantic partners, walk away when those relationships become one-sided. Okay, so next up, we're going to look at your Threadbound Oracle cards. Here we have the Dance, Trust, Body, Catharsis. And then we have the Weaver, Patterns, Connections, Mediation. Okay, so that's interesting. the weaver. Some of you may actually be into sewing or knitting, crocheting, creating something with your hands. And then with the dance, some of you could be dancers. Dancing is a very cathartic process. I think you are definitely somebody who wears their heart on their sleeves. And when you think about people, if they're dancers, or if they create articles of clothing, if they interior design, usually all of these things are very pleasing to the eye. I thought possibly that it could have multiple interpretations, and it does in the sense of what type of way, what types of things that you create, what types of environments you make beautiful. But whatever it is specifically that's meant for you, your life's purpose is still tied to creating beauty or making things beautiful. When somebody dances professionally, at least personally, that's never been unpleasant for my eyes to see. The way people move so fluidly, right? And when you think of knitting or sewing, maybe you think of a grandma, and it certainly doesn't have to be an older person. That's just kind of a stereotype. But when you think of that, you think of a nice cozy home, right? Somebody knitting in a home that's extremely welcoming. When you step in, you feel like maybe they'll offer you a cup of hot tea. And even if you don't know that person, somehow you still feel welcome. So these are obviously very specific examples: dancing, knitting, sewing, interior design, set design. Those are very specific examples, and it doesn't mean that one of those has to apply to you. But what I'm trying to get at is that your life's purpose is tied to creating beauty, into making environments beautiful, making other people feel welcome, making them feel at home when maybe they don't even have a home themselves. You are like the creme de la creme of hosts. All right, and we also have 5 of ink, solvent, mistakes, forgiveness, mercy. Again, I think with people that have taken advantage of you, you do want to learn how to let go in a way that isn't resentful or scornful. What other people have done to you is definitely not a reflection of who you are. And I think in the past you have taken things personally, and you may have even experienced anger towards yourself for allowing yourself to be in those situations. But what Spirit wants you to know right now is that your good heart and your compassion towards others is definitely not a weakness. When people have come across you and they don't match your good heart and your good intentions, they are obviously not going to experience your kindness and think that they need to reciprocate it, because that's just not the way that their mind is wired. They just think that other people are kind, and they're like, cool, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be a good person, and people still show me kindness. But eventually that will catch up to them. There is absolutely nothing that you have to do. You don't have to wish them ill. And I don't think you have, but I think you are someone who, when other people do you dirty, karma kind of takes care of them tenfold. Like, you literally have to do nothing other than let those people go and forget about them. But the universe definitely steps in and teaches them the lessons that they need to learn. And if they never learn them, that's totally their problem. They have their own kinks to work out. We just have to hope that someday these things will finally kind of sink in and help them become a better person. But that could honestly take years. It could take 10, 20 years. And so the best thing for you to do is always to just let them go. We cannot wait around forever for people. Most people do learn lessons and they do become better as they get older, but to wait around for them is sort of a waste of time and waste of opportunities on our end, especially if you are already at a very evolved state in your life. You want to find the people that match your energy better and that are going to help you thrive even more, because I think you are already thriving. And if people continue to mistake your kindness for weakness, let them. You continue living your life, and they can continue to not be a part of it. Simple as that. Spirit, I think, is asking you to be a little bit more hard in that sense. Even if it's not entirely natural to you, I think part of what you're learning in this life is to, in a sense, be a little bit more of a hard ass. Sorry, I can't think of a better word at the time. And I think the beauty with you and your personality is that you do these things with softness and with love. You know, I don't think you're the type of person to ever be like, oh, well, go fuck yourself. Sorry for cussing in this pile, but I'm trying to find the best way to express this because it's essentially the opposite of what or who you are. And it's like, yeah, swear words, harsh words, ugly words in a sense, are the opposite of who you are. Okay, so lastly, we have your Astrosoul Oracle cards. So we have South Node. Okay, so what you are moving away from. And then Stellium. Okay, I might have to get my Astro dice for this. But essentially, South Node in astrology represents what you are meant to move away from in this life, because the opposite of that is the North Node, which talks about your destiny. So the South Node is still tied to your destiny, but it talks about the things that you are leaving behind, the things that you are moving away from. And it's interesting that right here, right, we see this let go message. So I'm gonna get my Astro dice and see, at least for this reading, you could always check what your South Node is on your birth chart. But for this reading in particular, I want to get a sign for a little bit more info. So here's the Astro dice. You can see it has all of the zodiacs, all 12 of them on here. So Spirit, for pile number 4, what sign is South Node in? Ooh, Aries. Yeah, of course. It definitely makes sense why in this life you are a lot more soft-hearted, because Aries can be, well, when you think of the ram, right, it has the horns, it kind of not bulldozes into things, but you know, it's a lot more of a harsher energy. Aries can be very confrontational. They often don't have a lot of patience, and they can often navigate as if they're running out of time all the time. So I think it would seem like at this point in your life, you have mostly gone away from that direction, but also, of course, be careful of abandoning the best aspects of Aries entirely, because Aries are leaders. They take charge of situations. They stand up for themselves. So I think one important thing to know is, just because Aries is sort of in your past, and maybe you kind of learn how to have the qualities of Aries in a past life, to not entirely forget them. It does say gifts and lessons here. You know, it doesn't fully encompass who you are now in this life or at this point in your life. But when you need to, do not forget to channel that energy. You know, in a past life, it's quite possible, maybe not in your last incarnation, but you know, you can always look at your birth chart, like I said, what is your particular South Node in, but you have likely at some point have been an Aries and learned the ins and out of being an Aries, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So in this life now, you can now harness all of the good qualities of Aries without having to succumb to its more negative aspects. And each sign has its positive and negative aspects. There's nothing wrong with that. I do believe that an evolved, empowered person will always bring out the best in any of the signs, whatever it is that they are. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Stellium. It says reinforcement and concentration. I'm going to roll the dice again to see what the Stellium might be in. A stellium in astrology is when, well, it can depend on the astrologer. Some astrologers believe it's 3 or more planets in the same sign, and some astrologers believe it's 4 or more signs. So it can depend who you ask, but regardless, 3 or more planets in a sign is still a concentration of that energy. So let's say that you have your Mercury, your Venus, and your Uranus in Leo. Now we have a concentration of Leo energy in your chart. Even though Leo is not your sun, moon, or rising, it is still prominent enough in your chart where you might exhibit a lot of Leo qualities and energy. Okay, so I'm going to roll it one more time. Spirit, what is this stellium? What sign is it in? It is in Capricorn. I actually have a stellium in Capricorn in my chart. Okay, so now what Spirit is asking you to reinforce and concentrate in is discipline and hard work. With this hedonist card, there could be a tendency to overindulge sometimes. And again, the Empress has the Venus symbol inside of it. So definitely just be a little bit careful with that. Regardless, I do think you are already a hard worker. Everybody just has, you know, those moments where we kind of need to break loose and have fun, and especially here with the Nine of Cups as well. But this is just saying, don't get so carried away in the beauty and the catharsis of creating art, of creating beauty, that you kind of forget about the nitty-gritty details, the not so fun stuff, right? But those things are just part of reality in becoming successful. With the Venus inside of the Empress card, some of you could be Libra or Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising. But yeah, just to break down your life's purpose again, I think you are definitely meant to love what you do, to have fun with what you're doing, to create beautiful art, to create beautiful environments, to express yourself, not be afraid of making yourself vulnerable. I think those things come to you naturally, and it helps people around you be unafraid of being vulnerable around you. The only thing we kind of have to watch out for is not letting other people take advantage of you, and to not be afraid to pay attention to details. If, for example, you have your own business, there's contracts, tedious work that needs to be done, don't forget about that, because maybe you are a lot more creative than you are like a planner or an organizer, or like more secretary or paperwork type of stuff. So it could even mean that you need to bring in somebody else to do that for you or for your business. Make sure that all your bases are covered. So if there is something that isn't your strong suit, make sure that you have somebody on your team that is strong in that specific type of work. We can't all be good at everything, right? So wherever you're lacking, make sure you bring in the right people to complete the team. All right, Pile 4, I think I will leave you there. I hope that this reading resonated. If you would like to order a personal reading for me, you could always do that on my website at starlightvessel.com. And of course, are always welcome to join my spiritual family on my Instagram at starlightvessel as well. If you enjoyed this reading, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you would like to see any future videos from me. All right, so I hope you have a wonderful day or night, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, pile number 5. If you are here, you chose the gray agate bracelet with the tree charm. For today's reading, looking into your life's purpose, we have some tarot cards and a decent amount of oracle cards as well, just for some further insight. So as usual, we're going to start off with your tarot cards. Okay, so to start, we have the Ace of Cups reversed. Then we have the Seven of Swords. We have the King of Wands reversed. And we also have the Ace of Pentacles. So looking at these first two cards here, the Ace of Cups reversed and the Seven of Swords, I think part of your life's purpose is learning how to express your authentic self. The Seven of Swords can sometimes talk about trickery, and I don't think for you this is necessarily anything with malice or malintent. I think maybe it's just that the first impression you give off to others is not the best representation of who you really are. Maybe you even struggle a little bit with your own identity and who you really are, or how you feel comfortable coming off to others. I think also because swords are usually associated with the air signs. That's Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And for the air signs, it can often be hard to make themselves emotionally vulnerable to others. And that's probably why this Ace of Cups is reversed. because the cups often do talk about our emotions, and swords or the air element can sometimes be uncomfortable with that. You know, we also actually have this King of Wands reversed, and the wands often talk about expression, maybe not as much emotional expressions as the cups, but maybe more in terms of our passions and unafraid to stand in our truth, not caring about what other people think about us. So for many of you, it's perhaps possible that something happened to you when you were younger or a child. Maybe your family growing up wasn't that affectionate or expressive. So when you got put into the real world in situations away from your family, you kind of struggle to be vulnerable in front of other people because it maybe just feels kind of awkward and uncomfortable for you. I think once you realize, though, that it doesn't really matter what other people think about us. And honestly, other people don't judge us, or at least not normally. Other people don't tend to judge us as harshly as we judge ourselves. And I think once you realize that, it's really going to free you up to actually put your most authentic self forward. And because of that, so many opportunities are going to open up for you. I think at this point, you may have confused a lot of people about who you actually are. And it doesn't have to be in a super negative way. Maybe they're just not sure, like, oh, what are this person's interests? You know, they kind of seem a little bit all over the place. This guy in the Seven of Swords is struggling a little bit to carry those swords. He's kind of picking up whatever he can, but he is leaving, you know, some stuff behind. And part of your life purpose could be connected with choosing wisely. You know, how do you identify yourself? How do you move forward without being burdened, without carrying too much on your hands? And when we are simply ourselves, it doesn't have to be that complicated, because it could be that he doesn't even need this sword or that sword over there. This is just an example, but maybe instead of carrying two of those swords that are not representative of who he is, maybe if he simply changed his wardrobe. You know, wardrobe doesn't really weigh too much on our bodies. So he could be carrying these two swords that he doesn't even need, that are not even representative of who he is. And if he were just to wear the right outfits for him, then he can now remove those two swords. I don't know if that's the best example I could give, but I guess what I'm trying to say is the more true you are to yourself, the less heavy things feel on you. Because when we're trying to pick up pieces from other people, like seeing something that we like about somebody else and trying to make that part of ourselves, and a little bit of this person over here and that person over there, then we are sort of mimicking instead of just being. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I think once you hone in on your passions and you become unafraid of expressing your emotions and just being completely yourself without worrying what other people will think of you, this will make it clear to the universe about who you are and what you want and the things that you want to accomplish. And like I said, that's when doors are really going to start opening up for you. Okay, so next we're going to look at your life purpose oracle cards. First, we have sensitivity. Yeah, of course, here with the Ace of Cups too. You're becoming more sensitive and need to make changes accordingly. And then we have study. Reading, research, and education help you gain confidence and clarity about your career. Yeah, I think you are probably kind of confused about what it is that you want to do exactly. And this is a general reading, but I do think that for many of you are currently in school and maybe unsure about what you want to major in. Maybe you're doing your general ed classes, trying to figure out what calls to you the most, what you really want to major in. And you're trying out all these different swords that don't really fit quite well in your hand. I think you haven't found the right sword for you, the sword that you actually want to take into battle with you as just a metaphor for your life. You really want to find that sword that's going to help you out in life most, that's going to protect you, that people will identify you with, that will even in a sense make you less of a target, because people will know that sword is meant for you, that you know your shit essentially. And I think at this point in your life, you're probably trying to find that confidence and that level of mastery in something. And I do love that we pulled this card, because this clarifies that you are in the process of becoming a more sensitive person. Not that you weren't sensitive before, but like we were talking about, you just maybe were not comfortable expressing yourself to other people. There's no shame in having feelings. And if your feelings scare somebody, then that's not really somebody that you want in your life anyways. And in terms of your life purpose, again, this doesn't necessarily have to be about school. You could just be somebody who's meant to gather a lot of wisdom in your life. When I see an owl, that's usually what I think about, is wisdom, being wise beyond your years. So for some of you, it could be gathering a lot of street smarts. For others, some of you, it could be about becoming extremely book smart, spending many years of your life in school. And some of you are probably interested in getting a PhD of some sort, or just a higher level of education in general. But, you know, even the topics that you study don't always have to be related to school. We do have some, it looks like crystals to me. So some of you could be interested in studying the esoteric, which that would make sense since you are here listening to a tarot reading. Some of you could be interested in studying the tarot if you are already studying astrology, working with crystals, Reiki healing, things like that, and eventually becoming something like a spiritual advisor. Like I said, that won't be exactly true for everyone. Just take what resonates the most here, because there are several different interpretations. Okay, and next we're going to look at your archetype cards. First we have Virgin, which says light attribute, maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit. Shadow attribute, fear of intimate union. Yeah, again, can definitely see that as well with the Ace of Cups reversed. And then Victim, light attribute, prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. Shadow attributes, playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. So for many of you, this could be the reason why it's hard for you to really put yourself out there, because you are so pure and you feel that people might take advantage of you. But I think what Spirit also wants you to know is that as long as you know who you are and you carry, or you learn to carry yourself with confidence, like, yes, you will be kind, but people will also not see you as someone that they can take advantage of, because they'll be aware that you stand in your own power, in your own truth. And you definitely don't have to look like a victim to others, or you don't have to become a victim just because you speak your truth or you stand up to other people. It's actually quite the opposite. When you stand up for yourself, you actually stop being a victim. Because even if somebody causes you pain or says hurtful words, the fact that you put a stop to it, or you said, hey, you know what you're doing is not okay, then at that point, people realize that you're not someone to mess with. You take that power away from them. They are now aware that whatever they say to you is not really going to affect you. And so that strips them of any power that they have over you. And something else that I'm seeing here with the sensitivity and the study card, I think many of you are somebody who kind of, for the most part, likes to be left alone. Maybe you're even a little bit shy, or you just sort of like to keep to yourself. You don't like to get involved in other people's lives and other people's drama. So when people come to try to disturb your peace, you really just do not appreciate it. But because maybe you are soft-spoken, it's a little bit harder for you to draw boundaries with people and say, you know what, this is not okay. And I am sorry if you have dealt with a person like that or several people like that. But just continue forward, unafraid, or as unafraid as you can be to lose these people in your life. If you need a lot of alone time, a lot of time for self-reflection, or just to relax, you need people in your life who will respect that, who will completely, or if not almost completely, accept you for who you are. And also people that you feel extremely comfortable with. We want this Ace of Cups and this King of Wands to turn upside right, so that you can tell people how you feel, so that you can express yourself creatively, so that you can express your passions without having to feel embarrassed. Okay, so next up, we're going to look at these cards from the Threadbound Oracle. First, we have the Festival, Celebration, Fun, Material Goods. Okay, and we also have the Train, Transition, Travel, Liminal Space. So it looks like there definitely is a huge need for you to, if not literally, metaphorically, hop on a train. Maybe you have felt kind of stuck, and getting on this train is going to help you move forward. This could be moving cities, or traveling, taking a trip for a few days, going somewhere you've never been before. that will help you discover yourself. There is a lot of power in traveling and being in places that you are unfamiliar with, because you kind of learn to navigate better, navigate through life. You are sort of forced into situations where maybe you do not speak the language, or you don't know how their public transportation works. And so you're forced to put yourself out there. You're forced to ask for help. You're forced to ask strangers for help. And this is even boosted if you do it by yourself, if you travel alone, or even if you're going to visit a friend in a different city or in another country. Maybe once you get there, you won't be alone, but while you're traveling, while you're on that train, while you're on that plane in the airport, you are by yourself. So if you have not had the opportunity yet in your life to travel, it is definitely connected to your life purpose, 100%. I think for many of you, your life view was sort of limited growing up. Maybe you are from a small town where you didn't have a lot of exposure to maybe a lot of cultures or different languages, and you're meant to be exposed to that. And when you go out there into the world on your own for the first time, it could be intimidating, and sometimes extremely intimidating. It can sometimes even make you feel sick because you're going out into the unknown. And that is really scary. But once you do it, again, so many doors are going to open for you. And life is meant to be fun for you. These kind of remind me of the Japanese lantern. Maybe that could be significant to you. Maybe visiting Japan or anywhere in Asia for that matter. But I think just travel in general is going to open your eyes so much and make you see so much more potential and opportunities that you would never have seen if you had stayed, or if you stay in your town or in your city. Go out and explore. And here with material goods, I think in a sense, I'm going to say when you travel, because you will travel. I'm not going to say if you travel, no, because we want to speak as if these things are going to happen for certain, so that they do happen. So when you travel, you are going to feel so much more grateful about life, that it will then in turn allow you to match the frequency of abundance. And you will then therefore attract more abundance to you, because we cannot attract things that we do not feel. So if you say, I need more wealth, or if you're not wealthy, I need more income, I need to be more financially stable, then you are asking the universe from a place of need, which means that inside you probably feel poor, or you feel that you do not have enough. And because you have feelings of lack, then I don't want to say impossible, but it becomes a lot more difficult to attract abundance to you, because you do not feel the energy or the frequency of abundance. So even if you have to fake it till you make it, try to embody the feelings of being abundant, of being grateful for the things that you have. And like I said, when you travel, I think it'll naturally just make you feel more grateful and more abundant for the opportunities that you are experiencing. All right, and then we also have this card here. It says 6 of ink, calligraphy, fluidity, skill, patience. So if you are trying to hone in on a skill, there needs to be an understanding, an acceptance that gaining mastery of a subject or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, it takes time and you cannot rush it. And the fact that it says patience, I think Spirit also wants you to know that you have to trust the universe a little bit more, that things happen in divine timing. Everything that you have lived so far, that you have gone through, it was all for a reason. And maybe even if it didn't always feel like there was a good reason, sometimes we are held back because we are not yet ready to receive the gifts of the universe. So with time, you will gain mastery in a skill, in something that you're studying, and abundance and material goods will come to you. Or more so if you are currently in a place where you already feel abundant. And it could be that in general you are grateful and you do feel abundant. But every now and then something can come up, a hiccup, a bump in the road. Like maybe you were used to receiving income every 2 weeks from a job, and then suddenly that job lays us off when we worked at that job maybe for years. And so suddenly we stop receiving that income. And even though you may have had a lot in your savings, you're still like, oh crap, I don't have this steady income coming in anymore. And then you kind of start to revert back into that lack mentality. I don't have enough, I'm not making enough, and you kind of freak out. And I'm not saying this exactly is going to happen to you, but if something similar ever does, just remember to take a deep breath, that you were given that opportunity to make whatever you made, and that you were able to have enough in savings to be okay for a while. And maybe it's that job wasn't meant for you. So the universe kind of put you in a sort of tower moment and said, I know that you had this job, and yeah, it was good for you, and yeah, you were able to take care of yourself, but something out there is so much better for you, so much more fitting to your life's purpose, so much more fitting to what actually will bring you joy. Like, yes, we are sorry that we had to take this away from you, but it was the only way to nudge you into what you're really meant for. And I do think there has been maybe several points in your life where you have had situations like that, where you later realized they were blessings in disguise, even if in the moment they felt like the rug was pulled from under your feet, and maybe questioning why that kept happening to you. And I'll tell you this, I think it's because the universe didn't want you to get comfortable. What's actually in store for you is so much bigger, so much more perfect for you than what you could have even have thought of on your own. All right, and lastly, we're going to look at your Astrosoul Oracle cards. Here we have the 5th house. This is the house of self-expression and the pleasure of showing who we truly are. Oh my goodness. Here we see one's creativity and artistic vision, how we like to have fun, playfulness and pleasure, games of chance, love affairs, and also children. And then we have Virgo. Okay. Virgo's been coming out, and Leo as well, actually. A lot of Leo and Virgo energy in today's video, not just in this reading, but also the other piles. So yeah, the fact that we have the 5th house coming up just reiterates the fact that your life's purpose is tied into the need for you to come out of your shell and really shine in your most authentic truth. The King of Wands actually is often represented by Leo as well. The 5th house is ruled by Leo. So really working on your self-confidence, building that. There are things that you are meant to express to others, to the world. And it does say, I create. However, there are so many ways to create in this world. We often think of being creative as being artistic, and that could very well be the case for you. Being artistic and being creative is another theme that has come up in a lot of these piles. But I think part of that is because humans are innately creative. But it doesn't always have to be with art. You could very well create curriculums for other people to learn whatever it is that you mastered. You could create an app, which, does seem a little bit artistic to a degree. But you could also create travel plans for yourself. There are countless ways for us to be creative, to create. And then with Virgo here, I think Spirit is trying to say to not forget to be practical as well. And you are probably somebody who is innately practical. I don't think that you're someone who tends to be unrealistic with your dreams and your desires and what you wish to manifest. I do think you are innately pretty good at that, at planning, taking things one step at a time. You may have Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or the 5th house could be a significant part of your chart. Maybe you want to look at what planets you have in your 5th house. And I'm actually being called to say this. When you look at your birth chart and you find your rising sign or your 1st house, so let's say that it is in Virgo and Virgo is ruled by Mercury, that would make Mercury your chart ruler. So Mercury would be the ruler of your entire birth chart. So whatever house Mercury is in, that is extremely significant to what your life purpose may be. So for example, if Mercury is in your 8th house, because Mercury deals with communication, and the 8th house can deal with the occult, maybe it's part of your life's purpose to communicate to others, to teach others about astrology, about the tarot. That's just an example, but I would highly encourage you guys to look into that. For some reason, I was called to say that to this pile, but in general, it's good for anyone to look at. And also, whatever you decide to do in this life, you are meant to have fun with it. You are meant to have downtime, to play. For some of you, it could be with your own children or children in general, or embody the spirit of being a child. Leos tend to be, I don't want to say childish, but they kind of have the heart of a child, and they don't always take life so seriously. Like a kid, you know, they wake up in the morning and the most important thing about their day is how they are going to have fun. They're thinking about when they're going to go home from school and be able to play outside with their neighbors, or play board games or video games with their friends. You know, just little things like that. I think you are being reminded here that sometimes it's also the little things in life that can cause you to have the most enjoyment. And I definitely think if this isn't currently a part of your life, or you're not currently in that transition, you are sort of meant to move away from your family dynamic, the family that you were raised with, the family that you grew up with. And I don't mean like move away from them in the sense that you're not going to be in communication with them anymore. Of course not. But you are meant to find the people that are into the same things that you are, that make you feel like the best version of yourself, and like you don't have to hide anything anymore. I think for many of you with your family, you felt that you had to hide a lot because you felt that they weren't going to accept those parts of you. And in time, I think many of those things will be revealed to your family as you get older, and you'll find that as time passes, or even after you do not live with them anymore, that they will view you more as a friend and not so much as a parent or a sibling. So even if, for example, they're very Catholic, and let's say you're LGBTQ+, and when you lived with them, you never felt that you could come out to them. But over the course of time, after not living with them for several years, whatever that time span might be for you, then there's this sort of disconnect where the relationships become more friendly rather than familial. And it becomes easier to open up about things that you felt that you had to hide from them. And you'll also see that for them, it's easier for them to accept it as well. So the universe definitely wants you to know that you don't have to hide who you are forever. There will come a day when you are meant to shine in your most authentic self, and it's gonna come at the perfect divine timing, when you are ready for it, and when the people that you are closest to are ready for it as well. We never want to do things that we don't feel ready for, right? So everything in divine timing. Trust the universe. Trust that they are working with you for your highest good. All right, my lovely pile number 5s, I think I will leave you there. I hope that this reading resonated. And if you would ever like to order a personal reading from me, you could always do that on my website at starlightvessel.com, or you could always join my spiritual family as well on my Instagram at starlightvessel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you would like to see any more future videos from me. I hope that you have a wonderful day or night, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!